Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, a bright day to rise and shine wherever you are. This is Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. My name is Uyai Aniek, and I am super excited to be here this morning. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Of course, we're super excited, always super excited to be here. Of course, every weekday from Monday through Friday, just to serve you with all the interesting conversations we have as burning issues in Nigeria. My name is Janice Cobham. Welcome once again to Rise and Shine Daily. And don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms, especially on Twitter at spectrumtv.ng. Online, and of course get the conversation going. Let us hear your thoughts, let us hear your opinion, and let us continue to push great conversations. Good morning, Bar. Oh yeah.
Good morning.
I was going overboard now to call you. Okay.
Good morning. How was yesterday? Have you been?
Oh, yesterday I don't know what happened yesterday. We just woke up to a very rainy day, and it kept raining all through the day. And somehow I was like, okay, so this is the time for the season and all of that. So maybe the rain is just doing its job. Let us as humans continue to do ours too,
Right.
and allow the rain to do their job.
Right. Such a difficult situation because yesterday I had to go into some parts of the city, and we saw a lot of areas where the rains have come down terribly, and there's no way to use those roads. Talking about like Atiku Abubakar is overflowing with water. Some parts of Idoro, that's no Koritam now, no access. You need to see the way people's houses are being overtaken by water and all of those kinds of things. I got reports of the same thing happening around the Osongoma axis, several areas, even the somewhere around Ekpini Sukara. So we just have the fact that drainages have not been sorted
Evacuated?
out. Yes, evacuated. One, some have not been built to cater for the amount of water that passes through the area. So of course everyone was just calling on government's attention to come to their aid, especially because we usually have a couple of months giving us time to work on all these things before the next rains come, even factoring in all the meteorological agency warnings that we have. But it is terrible right now, because if the rains come down heavier, I think yesterday or the day before it rained for like 14 hours straight non-stop. So we are saying if the rains even came down in a higher torrent, it will be more difficult than what we are even experiencing.
It's quite a pity to see and hear that these things are happening right under our noses. And I think it's a call to action for government at this point in time. Now that, people haven't started losing lives and properties, this is the right time to, put some kind of action and put some kind of mitigating factors in place to make sure that, yes, we see how we can, begin to cushion the effect of whatever the higher rains will bring. When we are even talking about the August break, I know that after August the rain comes down really hard and all of that. So this is the right time for government to begin to push conversations towards creating more drainages, and if we can even create like bigger drainages, it will make a whole lot of sense, so that the water just goes immediately it comes and all of that. But we as individuals, we also have our parts to play. I'll continue to reiterate that. Let us do the little that we can. Now, aside from even getting flooded and properties destroyed, lives destroyed, we also have outbreaks of illnesses. We have outbreaks of cholera, we have outbreaks of malaria and all of that, because when we begin to have stagnant water built up in a particular place, of course they are breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So let us just be battling with the issue or the effect of flood, and not necessarily be having an outbreak as illnesses, because that will be quite disastrous for us moving forward. But then again, I just hope that government will listen to this and move or swing into action, and us as individuals, we try and do our own little bits, whatever little thing that you can do to make sure that yes, we stay safe at this moment. Let us do it.
Very important. Well, then let's move to some of our stories for the day. Of course, we are still in the Eid al-Kabir celebration season. More like the main activities happened yesterday. The main prayers happened yesterday. Today is just for like visitations and the rest of them. But of course, we see the activity of the president during this particular Salah celebration. Of course, he joined other Nigerian Muslims to perform the Eid al-Kabir prayers at the Doda Barracks praying ground in Lagos. The president was accompanied by Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, National Security Advisor, Mr. Femi Gbadabiamila, Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, a former Lagos State Governor, and other top government functionaries. In his sermon, the Chief Imam of Lagos, Sheikh Suleiman Abu Nola, said that the festivity promotes a culture of sacrifice, unity, and tolerance among the Muslim faithful. He said religion does not permit the practice of selfishness, intolerance, or sectionalism. He also said they should endeavor to use the occasion to reflect on the various challenges facing the country and use it to rectify whatever is our challenge through prayer to God Almighty. Also, the Chief Imam prayed for the continued peace, progress, and stability of Nigeria and called on all Nigerians to imbibe the values of the Prophet Ibrahim. We also saw Mr. Femi Hamzat, Deputy Governor of Lagos State, urging Nigerians to continue to pray for the well-being of the country. Of course, we remember that the president was going to be in Lagos, joining other Nigerians to pray at that particular venue. Mr. Hamzat also said the president would need the prayers of Nigerians to continue the various initiatives toward turning the country into the dream of our founding fathers. Now, as the president returns to Abuja, he will need your prayers, and as he moves to all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, he will also need your prayers. Of course, prayers must be made for the leaders of the country.
Yeah, definitely a good one, and it's beautiful to also see, that there was relatively peace and calm, during the Salah festivals. But maybe we'll just take a listen to this particular video, and we'll just come back right into the conversation. Let's look at this. Let's take a listen.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Eid Mubarak, everyone. May Allah accept our fast as an act of ibadah. May Allah spare our lives, and may Allah count us among the lucky dwellers of Jannah.
Muslim faithful across the world are celebrating Eid al-Kabir, the feast of sacrifice.
Nigeria, lọ́kọ̀ fún wa láyà balẹ̀ ńbẹ̀, lọ́kọ̀ fún wa ní ìfàyàbalẹ̀ níbẹ̀.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar.
Àjogún ìmọ̀ fún wa, àjogún làákàyè fún wa, àjogún ọgbọ́n fún wa, àjogún àgbáyé fún wa.
Thank God for those of us who are alive and healthy to observe the day. It's a day of sacrifice. It's a day of submission to the total will of Allah. It's a day of giving and saying thank you.
Eid al-Kabir celebrations there. There's been calls for a lot of prayers at this point in time, but like I said earlier, we are grateful that coming from the back of the allegation that the DSS had made, or rather the alarm that was raised as to insecurity during the celebrations. We did not see that happen. Relatively, we've had peace so far, so good. And today is the end of the public holiday to, join our Muslim Ummas to celebrate their festivities. So we are also going to be seeing Nigerians go back to work tomorrow. But it's a good thing that we have seen that Mr. President, duly took part in that particular celebration, and also calling for Nigerians, to shun all forms of violence and also embrace peace. Just like I think Peter Obi also mentioned yesterday, let us embrace brotherliness and build the country together, because that is action should be that we should embrace peace at this point in time, shun every form of religious violence and religious bigotry. We should shun all forms of rivalries within ourselves as a country, because whether we like it or not, these things stall development in the country. But we are super grateful. We're super grateful for Mr. President at this point in time, coming from France and from London, and then joining his Muslim brothers to celebrate the Ummah. It's a good thing to see.
Good thing to see. We also will not forget that back here in Akwa Ibom State, we have the Muslim community here who also deeply expressed gratitude to the Akwa Ibom people and their host communities, also to the governor of Akwa Ibom State for extending a hand of fellowship to the Muslim community here in Akwa Ibom State. Of course, reports reaching us was that the governor of the state, Pastor Omoyeno, had sent some donations to the Muslim community, especially to help the most vulnerable in the community to celebrate the festivities, looking at the impact of the economy on everyone at this time. It was difficult. Like most Nigerians usually ask, those that are not Muslims will ask, is this the Eid al-Kabir that rams are sacrificed? Because it's not all of this celebration that rams are slaughtered, but this was the ram slaughtering celebration. Celebration. And the Muslims, you had a few words to share with Nigerians at this time. So maybe we'll just give voice to this and then we'll get right back. Of course, we spoke to the Sheikh and chairman of the Muslim community in Akwa Ibom State.
Ya ba mu haɗin kai a ƙasar mu Najeriya. Muna godiya sosai, mun gode. Jazakumullahu khairan.
But we do this Salah not be the way we expect it. Some people they don't get money to even buy ram because things is hard. We dey pray for this new government by coming here the next Salah, maybe things will not be like that.
Problem that we have because there was no money now. That's our problem, sir. The ram that we used to buy 50,000 before, now it is 100,000, 100,000 or 150,000. I appreciate Akwa Ibom State government very well, and I like the Akwa Ibom State safe.
Deterioration of the economy of the country, everything has gone up because of cost of transportation and the rest. Even the rams or any other food items has skyrocketed. The prices have skyrocketed, and because of that, not everyone that can afford to get or buy a ram or any animal to slaughter for the festivities. And Alhamdulillah, we thank Almighty Allah, and we thank the state government of their magnanimous enough that they equally have our feelings at heart, especially the governor of our dear state, Pastor Omoyeno. He has graciously, donated some rams and some food items like rice to the Muslim Ummah in the state.
Zama da abokan arzika, ya Allah rufa mana asiri, Allah ka maimaita mana, Allah ka ba mu rufin asiri domin hasken Annabi Muhammadu.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Yes, Yes, high cost of living is one thing that has, kind of stifled this particular celebration. Just like you said, looking for people that will actually, Muslim brothers and sisters that would actually slaughter ram. It's quite difficult for a lot of families at this point in time to do the ram slaughtering as, part of the activities to signify this particular Ummah celebrations. It's something that government needs to look into, actually, because when we even talk about the fact that food prices are getting higher by the day, for me, I don't think it's any more news, because we've known how many people are under the poverty line as we speak and all of that. But saying that a ram that was bought for 50,000 naira before is being bought for as much as 150 naira, 50,000 naira. That's really big.
So
it's
we're looking
really
at about 100% increase,
not
between
not
100
not
and
200% increase at this
increase
moment
with the prices. So
yes,
it's something
too
else.
much. It's too much for families. And I think there was something on the headlines yesterday that said more Nigerians were going to become poor or something.
Yes,
I saw that
as a result of the subsidy removal.
yes, and non palliatives as well. So it's really a bad situation that we are facing at this moment.
Really difficult, times, of course. We have more leaders in the country.
But before we talk about leaders, I think it's something that we must commend the state government. You talked about cohabitation yesterday, coexistence yesterday, where both Muslims and Christians are together in Akwa Ibom State doing business peacefully. There's never be any form of rancor between, these two sets of people. And to see that the government and the governor, decided to go and stretch forth their arms towards the Muslim community is something that needs to be commended. They really did a good job.
Of course, we'll not even forget that the Akwa Ibom people are known for hospitality, and that's something that most, of the Muslim faithfuls in Akwa Ibom can also testify about. The Akwa Ibom people are hospitable and, giving more room for businesses to be done in peace. I mean, it's an exchange that is going on of goods and services at the same time. And of course, Pastor Moino must be greatly appreciated, for extending that hand of fellowship. Of course, the Muslims in the state really, really felt, seen and appreciated for even what they contribute to the state economically. And that's beneficial for all of us in the overall. And part of what, the season of the Eid al-Kabir celebration stands for. I remember having a conversation yesterday, and then you're like, you want to understand what is the significance of this particular celebration, what is that religious symbolism for this time. And this is that one that the story about this particular celebration surrounds the sacrifice of Ishmael as the son of Ibrahim, now the prophet Ibrahim. So that is just all the place where God had asked prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice Ishmael, and then there was a ram in the ticket. That's why they sacrificed the rams. And then the sheikh was saying, when they sacrifice the ram, you give one part to your neighbors, give one part to your family, and then give one part, I think, to, you said, the less privileged or something. But the rams are actually divided into 3 portions and then shared.
So in a situation where as families you cannot afford a ram, what happens? He
said they can sacrifice cows or cows.
Which one is more expensive?
Cows, camels, and goats.
And goats?
Yes.
Okay, so we can actually go for a goat if we cannot afford a ram. At least we can get goats for like 50,000. We can get
70,000.
Yes. So we can actually have something to sacrifice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes a whole lot of sense at this point.
Well, that's still speaking about Eid al-Kabir. I mean, this is the season for our Muslim faithfuls, and there's a lot of conversation around it. The cities are being painted with colors: green, gold, the star, and the moon. Everywhere you see, even on the front pages of our papers, you will see those symbolisms. But of course, the Vice President also, Kashim Shettima, prayed for lasting healing for Nigeria and Nigerians, urging Nigerians to be united. Of course, quoting his prayers now, he said, "May Allah heal us from whatever afflicts us in our private lives and as a nation, and may this day bring forth enduring unity and progress to our beloved country." Of course, Shatima told journalists after observing the Eid prayers at the National Eid Ground, Abuja. Now, State House Director of Information, Office of the Vice President Olushola Abiola, revealed this in a statement he signed on Wednesday titled "VP Shatima at National Eid Ground, Praise for Nigeria's Unity and Progress." He also called on Nigerians to imbibe the virtues of sacrifice and forgiveness, the essence of the season. Of course, this sacred day is an occasion to reflect on the mercy of Allah as revealed through the gracious blessings bestowed upon Prophet Abraham and his son Prophet Ishmael. This timeless lessons serve as guiding light to humanity across generations, reminding us of the limitless trials and our Creator presents to us in our path to redemption. Of course, he also said in embracing these teachings, we find the moral inspiration to be the best versions of ourselves. Of course, these were some of the things that he said. Also looking at the fact that praying that may Allah accept our prayers and sacrifices and forgive our shortcomings. Of course, those were the prayer contributions of the Vice President for the country at this particular time. Good one there. When you also have the head men, the leaders, being able to also offer up prayers for the country is also important. Knowing that by their own strength they cannot do all of this, you always have to subscribe to a higher power in order to be able to be successful.
Yeah, definitely. So more like we're not expecting anything less from all our leaders at this point in time, especially the people, you know, that are sharing the same faith as Muslims and all of that. So this is more like a time, like the VP has said, it's a time for forgiveness too. You know, at this point in time, what do we do to heal our land? You know, what do we do to make it a better place for everybody as we speak? And forgiveness, when we even talk about forgiveness, more like where are we tilting to in terms of this forgiveness? Is it politically motivated, like political forgiveness, or forgive your brother and your sister, forgive your neighbors? Because these little forms of bickerings, you know, amongst us, it just has a way of spiraling into something very big at this moment. So forgiveness is very necessary at this point in time, but we'll keep praying for a country like us. We'll keep working. But so one thing is even to pray for forgiveness, another thing is even working towards, you know, achieving some kind of successes, and more like not doing things that will bring about a repetition of the things that angered your brother or angered your sister. And I think at this moment leaders also should also learn forgiveness and also do things that are developmental in terms of the country, and we move forward you know, by all of this too.
Of course, forgiveness is important, repentance is important. That's now like when we turn away from the hurtful things. But when you were speaking about forgiveness, I think some of the things that eats deep into us is that a lot of us haven't forgiven the past, histories that we share as ethnic groups, history that we share along religious lines. You may find out that it might not be something that is, you know, presently done in the in the 21st century, but someone says, I remember in 1958, I remember in 1988, I remember in 1960 when this ethnic group or this religious group did this. So we have to learn as a nation to be able to forgive our history and the part we all played in erring on the lines against each other. I think this forgiveness also goes to that extent, because next generation, but then they have also not grown to forgive the tales that were told us by our parents. You know, when you hear someone from a particular ethnic group saying you cannot do something with this other ethnic group because
something happened in 19 something.
Yes, and the dates begin to spring up. So we are saying in seasons like this, when we have the Muslim faithfuls set aside time to fast and seek the face of God in prayers, and then the Christians will come and also do their own in their season. It's just time that we continue to make sure that the dividing lines are being bridged, and then we can move forward as a people.
Okay, so still talking about all the festivities that happened yesterday, a slight drama happened yesterday between Adeleke's aide and ex-senator spokesperson now at the Idol prayers. So we have a video of that happening. We'll just take that very shortly, and then we get right back into the conversation, because obviously we would have said that, you know, all of this just went smoothly, but somewhere in Oshogbo, there was drama. Okay, so there was mild drama at the Oshogbo Central Eid Prayer Ground yesterday as Osun Governor's aide clashed with former Senate spokesperson Senator Ajibola Basiru over space now. Of course, the incident created some kind of rumpus at the Eid ground and prevented the state governor Ademola Adeleke from observing the 2 Rakat prayer rites at the ground. Now, the senator alongside with of the state capital and took their seats in front row. However, some members of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) loyal to the governor and indigenes of Oshogbo engaged the senator, requesting that he vacates the space reserved for the governor on the front row. The senator shifted from the space but insisted that as one of the leaders, he had always sit in the front and nothing would move him to another row. Now, the scene, which lasted over 10 minutes, created a scene at the ground till the governor and his entourage arrived at the ground. His security detail, having observed the situation, did not allow him to leave his vehicle to observe the prayers. It was also gathered that attempts to arrest the senator was eventually foiled, as he was set to leave the ground with Chief Badmus after the prayer site. Now, serious issues.
It's serious issues. Just disgruntled people trying to, you know, make a mess of something that could have been peaceful. We say that this place was reserved for the first man of the state, and that should be all. And then sometimes just, I mean, misunderstanding and lack of proper communication.
Exactly.
You have asked him to move from where it was designated for the governor. Fair enough. He moves. Why don't you allow him as a senator of, you know, the state to still sit in front? You know, sometimes we just do everything excessive. Everything's a little too much, because he would have still been allowed to take the front row as an elder statesman in the state, and then causing that kind of embarrassment, you know. Some parts of the story even has it, of course, that the governor had to walk out, of course, and not perform his Eid prayers that even brought him to the ground. Of course, putting Osun State in the news negatively in this particular season of celebration. So that was absolutely not good. And I mean, it goes without a saying that when the governor or the lead man in the state is going to be attending an event, or imagine, you know, they said that the president went to the Dotun prayer ground in Lagos, and then someone was scuffling for his seat. It won't be right, you know. So if it's simple to say, oh, this place is designated for the governor, it's the place of the governor. It doesn't even matter who else you are in the state, you have to make room for that. But this wasn't called for.
It was really drama. You know, another line of argument to this particular issue that happened yesterday, a lot of people started asking questions. Is the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, is he a Muslim?
Oh yeah, that's another question. Now, top of my head, I don't even know that,
because he has always portrayed himself as a Christian. We've seen him over and over in churches. We've seen him, you know, do, even when he won his election. He was in church. He went for Thanksgiving. So maybe we should say that he was just, you know, commemorating the day with the Muslim Ummah.
Oh, that would be true, and that's something we see our leaders do every now and then. We have Christians go to the mosque, some of our Christian leaders go to the mosque, and vice versa. So this probably might have been what Governor Adeleke Ademola was doing.
Or maybe they also have a little bit of Muslim background
in the family. Either way, but designated place, and the governor doesn't go to places unannounced.
True.
So it was expected. The governor was expected at that particular mosque. So it's not like, okay, oh, we were just all gathered to pray at the mosque, and oh, here comes the governor without announcing, and now someone needs to scoot away to make space. I doubt highly, because usually there's a whole protocol to a governor getting to a particular scene of event. But of course, even Nigerians will say that the day couldn't have entirely gone without drama, something to laugh about, you know, something to just converse about generally.
Yeah, definitely. We're just grateful that nothing serious happened, you know, out of that event that took place yesterday. But this is where we just have to put a pause on our conversations this morning. We'll join Mary Joseph, who's standing by for the news briefing. When we come back, of course, we'll be looking at the papers this morning. What do we have on the front pages of our national dailies? And then we'll also have our focus conversation. We'll have a guest joining us virtually from Lagos this morning, and that will form part of now the focus conversation has to do with Lagos State. It was ranked fourth
most unwholesome states to live in.
It's quite worrisome.
Wow.
Anyway, we'll unveil the conversation when we do come back. Just stay with us.
Ya ba mu haɗin kai a ƙasar mu Najeriya. Muna godiya sosai, mun gode. Jazakumullahu khairan.
But we do this Salah, not be the way we expect it. Some people, they don't get money to even buy ram because things is hard. We dey pray for this new government by coming here the next Salah, maybe things will not be like that.
Problem that we have because there was no money now. That's our problem, sir. The ram that we used to buy 50,000 before, now it is 100,000, 100,000 or 150, sir. I appreciate our Akwa Ibom State government very well, and I like the Akwa Ibom State, sir.
You know, deterioration of the economy of the country, everything have gone up because of cost of you know, transportation and the rest. Even the rams or any other food items has skyrocketed. The prices have skyrocketed, and because of that, not everyone that can afford to, you know, get or buy a ram or any animal to slaughter for the festivities. And Alhamdulillah, we thank Almighty Allah, and we thank the state government of their, you know, magnanimous enough that they equally have our feelings at heart, especially the governor of our dear state, Pastor Moeno. He has graciously, you know, donated some rams and some food items like rice to the Muslim Ummah in the state.
Zama da abokan arzika, ya Allah rufa mana asiri, Allah ka maimaita mana, Allah ka ba mu rufin asiri domin hasken Annabi Muhammadu.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
Voting for Spectrum TV to remove
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum. Live from Uyo, I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with a report that President Bola Tinubu and state governors on Wednesday assured Nigerians that the economic pains and hardship they were facing would soon turn to prosperity. They said the current pains were necessary, noting that the people's sacrifices would pave the way for abundance and a better future for the country. Tinubu and the governors spoke in separate statements on the Salah celebrations across the country. Away from that, Vice President Kashim Shettima traveled to Borno State, his hometown, on Wednesday for the Salah festival, paying a courtesy visit to the Shehu of Borno, Abubakar Garbi, at his palace. The State House Director of Information, Office of the Vice President Olushola Abiola, said in a statement that the Vice President departed Abuja for Borno State shortly after observing the Eid prayers at the National Eid Ground, Abuja. We head straight to the Nigerian Immigration Service, where it has said on Wednesday that it has announced the promotion of at least 7,000 officers nationwide. This was as he redeployed 12 new comptrollers to their respective states of assignment. The acting spokesperson for the NIS, Kenneth Kure, disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday titled NIS Elevates 7,000 Officers, Redeployed 12 Comptrollers. We head straight now to the foreign scene, where Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has been awarded the prestigious UK prize for his leadership and contribution to international relations, the Chatham House think tank said on Thursday. The London-based research body said it had awarded Zelensky the 2023 Chatham House Prize, hailing his transformation for actor-turned-novice politician to what-man leader as noting, short of ordinary. The former actor has unified his nation in defense of a formidable foe, the Titan said in a statement. And finally, in sport, Chelsea have announced the departure of goalkeeper Eduardo Mendy from the club. The Senegalese goalkeeper led the club after 3 seasons and has joined Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal. The 31-year-old played a key role in the Blues' run to Champions League glory in 2021. We'll have details of this and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's get back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Labour voting for Spectrum TV to improve fertilizer.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Mary Joseph just brought us tidbits of global news, and on Rise and Shine already we've had some conversation. The air is still thick with the Eid al-Kabir celebration nationwide, worldwide. But back here in Nigeria, we saw the President of the Federal Republic, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, attend Eid prayers at a mosque in Lagos State, of course, flanked with several elder statements and government functionaries. Of course, the President is also expected back to Abuja this morning to continue, proceedings as the leader of our nation. We also saw the Vice President Kashim Shettima offering up prayers for Nigeria, asking that the sacrifice and unity that this particular season is laid with should be upheld in the country. Of course, not forgetting the Muslim community in Akwa Ibom State. They shared their gratitude to the state and the state government for all they do for the Muslim community back here in Akwa Ibom State. One way for you to catch up on all the conversations we've had so far and every other thing brought to you by Spectrum Television is to follow us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. We have a healthy community of conversation on Twitter, so follow us at SpectrumT online and let the conversation continue. At this point, we'll be moving straight up to Spotlight Dailies, where we bring you information from the front pages of our national dailies.
Many interesting stories on the front pages of our national dailies this morning. We'll start first off with the Daily Sun. And the big story here says Tinubu asked Nigerians to make more sacrifices. The writer here says country will experience peace, stability, prosperity. You can find details of that story on page 6. And moving forward, we also have another story here. Atiku, VK fight shifts to Senate over minority leader's seat. The writer says ex-Rivers governor mobilizes against Tambuwal. Okay, all of this making sense right now. Let's go forward. Why I won't accept beaded crown, only authentic Olubadan crown, Ladoja. Page 27 is where you get details of that story from. We also have the PDP APC trade blames over alleged attack on Adeleke on prayer ground. The writer says ex-Senate spokesperson debunks claims. You find that story on page 4. Structure of my government will soon start taking shape, Makindea shows. Page 27 is where you have details of that particular story. Archbishop tasked National Assembly advocate end of election cases before inauguration once 4 Buhari ministers probed. You get that story on page 8. Obi feds Muslims and says love, unity will take Nigeria to desired heights. Page 26 is where you get that from. Tinubu's London trip not for medical checks, insists APC. You can get that story on page 28. Obi of Onitsha heads committee to harmonize Igbo culture. Page 28 is where you get details of that. And those are all the stories on the front page of Daily Sun.
Moving from Daily Sun now, we go straight to the Punch newspaper. Front page of the Punch this morning, big story, Salah, current pains necessary, says Tinubu, governments preach unity. We also see here, President assures Nigerians of better days, PDP lambasts APC. Governors demand peaceful coexistence as Muslims celebrate Salah. Marketers project 700 naira per litre petrol. Page 9 is where you can find details. 120 billion naira USSD debt won't be cancelled. Telcos tells banks. Page 9 is where you can find details. Nigeria's digital infrastructure inadequate for cashless economy, says World Bank. Page 20. We also see here Ladoja reject Makinday's planned elevation of high chiefs, page 12. Community groans over bad road, seeks Abiodun's intervention. Drama as Senate ex-spokesman Adeleke supporters clash at Eid Ground. Page 14 is where you can find details. And that's all we have on the front page of the Punch.
Our next paper this morning, let's see what our next paper has for us. Of course, let's look at the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune, the big story says, economy reforms may affect manufacturing, household income, says experts. The writer here says government debt to hit 90 trillion naira. Forex reform excites foreign investors. We also have that we must make sacrifices for Nigeria to prosper. A comment there by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then he will be visiting Ogun today. Okay, moving forward, elections, Middle Belt Group, NNPP, others differ on EU report. Okay, a big twist there from the Middle Belt Group and NNPP and other people that are differing on the EU report on the elections. Senate Minority Leader PDP Group rejects Tambuwal. You can find that story on page 25. Adeleke Basiru at war over seating arrangements at Eid Ground. The writer says political thugs attempted to attack governor, says spokesperson. Details can be found on page 25. Let's move forward now. I am not interested in any other crown except Olubadan, says Ladoja. We also have all workers abducted in Lagos. Okay, quite a sad story there. CBN says contact less cumulative daily transaction limits to 50,000 naira. CBN says contact less cumulative daily transaction limits to 50,000 naira. And those are all the stories on the front page of Nigerian Tribune.
Moving from Nigerian Tribune this morning, let's do this day newspaper. And the big story there says, Tinubu, on my watch, Nigeria will know peace, stability, and prosperity. Urges citizens to have faith in country and themselves. Praise for victory in the battle against insurgency. Our government will address infrastructure deficit, says Shetima. Saraki, Lagbaja, Obi, governors. Others salute Muslims at Salah. We also have your Sanye report. Federal government discontinues funding of professional bodies and council. Mixed reactions trail directive. FG moves to resolve NSITF management workers dispute. Page 8 is where we can find details. Research shows 130 countries exploring central bank digital currencies. Page 34. DHQ, military remains loyal to constitution. President says nation security, stability are its sacred responsibility. Of course, we also have a picture story there of the president observing his first Eid prayers in Lagos. And that's what we have on the front page of this day newspaper.
Okay, that should be our last story or paper.
Okay, let's see. Vanguard, presidency fires back at PDP, LP over alleged anti-people policies. PDP cautions APC, FG alleges anti-people policies. Task Nigerians on prayers over economic hardship. Tinubu's government lives in opulence while Nigerians groan, says LP. PDP envious of Tinubu's achievements in 3 weeks, says presidency. Tinubu taking bold step to reposition Nigeria, says APC. So there's like a back and forth between the three strong parties in the country. Okay. Pension registration drops by 10% as PenCom go after defaulters, page 19. Lawsuit performs first non-surgical hole in heart repair. Great news, page 25. We also see here tariff hike. NERC awaits president's approval. Planned stakeholders meeting. Crack in Benue APC. as splinter group convenes meeting to zone positions. Okay, we also see here illegal sale of government property. Plateau task force reads riot act to developers and others. Shun ethnic religious rivalry. Tinubu urges Nigerians. We must interrogate SDGs, says scholars. This okay in sports we have don't leave Napoli yet. Obafemi Martin advises Osimhen. That's in sports, and those are all the stories that we have on the front page of the Vanguard. I think the back and forth between PDP, APC, and Labour Party is, is a big story this morning. Of course, on Vanguard, that's page 5. Troubling insinuations. Yeah,
definitely. And to also come from the story that says that NNPP and some middle belt groups are also saying that the differ from the report that was submitted recently by the EU. Of course, election observers on the general election, especially that of the 25th of February, which was the presidential elections. Now, maybe they have their own observation as to what happened or what transpired during the elections. But then again, saying that they differ from what the EU has submitted as part of their report observing the elections. Well, I don't know what their own position or stand is as to the credibility of the February 25 elections, but these are things that were quite glaring to Nigerians. When we look at the report from the EU, it was marked by a lot of voter intimidation. It was marked by a lot of non-transparency now and all of that, especially when we talk about the uploading of the results to the IREV, which is the result portal of the electoral umpire. So these things that have been put forward by EU are things that a lot of Nigerians saw happen. So what is the stance of the middle belt, and what is the stand of some NNPP party members on what the result is from the EU?
Well, these are troubling times, and when we say really the word differing, it now looks like okay, the EU is not saying something right, or
right.
these
Exactly.
things,
Exactly.
these things actually did not happen. But remember, we had a conversation as to the weight of the EU report as against the AU report. So that's something we just keep our fingers crossed over. But then more stories. Telcos is telling banks that the 120 billion naira debt will not be cancelled. Now, sometimes when we hear that, we are indebted to the tunes that we are indebted, and then some of the
90
money
trillion as we speak.
yes, and then some of the monies that are called between parastatals, agencies, and different sectors of the economy. You're wondering, what's the problem? We really have a problem of misappropriation of funds, and just a high level of waste in the country. But these are serious issues. But this also stands out, Janice. The World Bank is saying that Nigeria's digital infrastructure is inadequate for a cashless economy. And I think on the back heel of the cash crunch that Nigerians just came up from, the haphazard introduction of a cashless society that grounded the economy, grounded a lot of families and businesses. It just goes to see, I mean, some of the headlines this morning are saying that now between PDP LP versus the APC, they're saying we are having policies that are not people friendly, and this infrastructural deficit in the banking sector is something that affects the people greatly. And so the World Bank is saying in terms of policies and things you want to do around your finances, just be aware that you do not have the infrastructure for cashless policy, so we should be advised accordingly. Yeah,
I remember now that when there was a message that was sent by a fan of Rise and Shine, a very lengthy message. I don't know how that can be traced, but bottom line is he actually put this position forward, right? That Nigeria is not even ready yet to begin to operate a cashless society. Where are the infrastructures, just like you have said, and all of that? So if the World Bank is saying that we do not have that, the facilities or the infrastructures to operate that, it still goes back to even Godwin Emefiele, former central bank governor.
Exactly.
Why did he even put that forward in the first place? What were his motive into introducing a cashless policy? So yes, he's being probed right now. Maybe he would also probe for answers to some of those questions that Nigerians are asking, and maybe we should even go further to asking him whether he puts, there was some kind of dialogue. He brought about some people to think tank these issues and see that these things can work. Where, what were those things that he put in place to make sure that we can thrive as a country under a cashless policy?
Exactly.
These are big questions that he needs to answer while he is being probed. But looking at the papers again this morning, very interestingly, the G5 governors are on the limelight this morning, but on the part of the Senate minority leader right now, obviously there's that line that has been drawn between the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate and Wike again as it stands. And I was just trying to read up that story. Of course, a bloc in the People's Democratic Party known as Concerned PDP League are saying that they are opposing any attempts by the party to present Senator Aminu Tambuwal as the Senate minority leader. And I think this war will go back to even when the primaries for the presidency started under the People's Democratic Party. We know that Aminu Tambuwal and Wike at the time were very good friends. We know what Wike did for Aminu Tambuwal at the time, and he was expecting that, that's a benevolence of his to be returned during the primaries. When we even look at the margin at which Alhaji Atiku Abubakar used in winning Nyesom Wike during the presidential primaries, you know that it was just a slim margin. And when we even look back again, remember that it was Aminu Tambuwal's vote, that turned the table and it turned the tide for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And I know that someone like Wike, he has that lost in his mind against Aminu Tambuwal, and now there's an opportunity now for Aminu Tambuwal to become minority leader in the 10th Senate. And this particular group, under the aegis of Consent now, Consent PDP League, are saying that not only at their watch will they have Aminu Tambuwal as the Senate minority leader. But there's something interesting that I saw here. It says that with great disappointment and shock to have read in the papers that Tambuwal, the former governor of Sokoto State and PDP Governors Forum chairman, wants to be the minority leader of the 10th Senate. Somebody who in 2014 took the House of Representatives speakership, we gave to him and defected to another party. The same person eventually came back to the party. Now he wants to be the minority leader of the 10th. We will not give support to him. So that is what the leaders are saying. And of course, we know where all of this is tilting to. That the struggle right now, or the fight right now, is between Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Wike.
Well, that's one tussle that will continue. Especially, we had that conversation of now the elections are over. What is going to be the fate of the G5 governors within the People's Democratic Party going forward with intra-party politics? And then sometimes we may even, it might have been out of sight to forget that there's still going to be the wrangling for positions in the Senate and all of that. And it's coming down to this. But even the arguments that they are pushing forward against Tambuwal is a strong argument.
Now, listen to another allegation. It says for so many years he was the PDP Governors Forum chairman but could not speak against the suppression and sufferings of Nigeria, Wamate said.
So there's heavy allegations against Tambuwal, and if we are going by a party foisting or bringing out who they want to represent them at that particular position, then there's already a lot around Tambuwal's neck. So maybe, and then the problem with the People's Democratic Party is that on the division lines, there may be an Alhaji Atiku Abubakar trying to prove to Nyesom Wike and the G5 governors that they still have the power, and they can go ahead to install Tambiwa as the Senate minority leader, whether or not they have the support or not. So we expect that there's going to be more unfolding with this particular drama, because I mean, it's a matter of integrity and who's got more power. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is going to may try to prove a point, and the G5 governors saying they are the concerned PDP league, they may try to also prove a certain point. But let's see how all of that is going to grow. But at the end of the day, we see that this harmony within the People's Democratic Party is going nowhere in at least the next couple of months, even the political scenes.
Yeah, definitely. It will not leave the political scenes for the longest of times. I know that there's also been a lot of calls for Nyesom Wike to, come over to the All Progressives Congress, but he has said that he remains a PDP, and a PDP he will continue to be as well. So let's just see how all of this will unfold. So many allegations are being attached to Aminu Tambuwal at this moment, but some Nigerians will say that these are just political times, and when you want to do what now to a dog, you give it a bad name.
When you want to give a dog a bad name,
you give it a bad name. So but I think another story that actually caught my attention is the big story on most of the papers this morning. Current pains necessary, says Tinubu as governor preach unity. Well, the president is saying, let's just chill a bit, let's just enjoy the sufferings a bit. For him, it's the sacrifices we need to pay for us to get a better Nigeria moving forward.
I know we've had this conversation of when we say let's hold out on the pain. For how long? Is this a year worth of pain? Is it for 2 years? Is it for 3 years? Is this going to be in the 4-year dispensation? And then, like the former president Muhammadu Buhari, we now expect that after he's gone, we begin to reap the dividend or some of the investments that he did. Nigerians just want a time frame to know how much they're going to be suffering. I mean, even on the front pages of the paper this morning, we have speculations of a litre of petrol becoming 700 naira. When people begin to buy a litre of petrol at 700 naira, you can imagine how much every other thing is going to skyrocket in the economy. We're looking at food price hike, we're looking at transportation, everything is going to become more expensive. Let's even go back to pharmaceuticals, because everyone is producing, and every sector in Nigeria provides energy and power for themselves. So it's going to be such a difficult ride. Let's not even forget that even the prices on diesel has also gone up. We're even talking about the barest minimum, which is like everybody uses petrol. Well, prices have gone up, production prices, everything. So when you say that this is a sacrifice that is worth the time being and will soon be ushered into a harvest of abundance, what are the blueprints on ground to make sure that this is not just one more presidential speech, but how sure are we that we are coming out of this soon and coming out of it well again?
That's a big question. How sure are we that we are going to be getting the dividends that the president has actually promised? He has promised a better Nigeria, he has promised a more prosperous country. How sure are we that all of those things will come and come soon as well? But we'll hang it there, and of course when we come back we'll be looking at our focus conversation this morning. Don't forget, we'll be joining our guests virtually this morning. Comrade Ayodele Adewale will be talking about Lagos State being ranked as the 4th worst country to actually live in. Did I say country? Worst city to actually live in. We'll take a short break and we'll be back shortly.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Asthma is a chronic condition that affects the airways. It causes difficulty in breathing as well as wheezing. There's been a number of recorded deaths associated to asthma, including some of our top celebrities. Join me as I examine professional opinion on asthma, causes, effects, symptoms, and preventive measures.
Avoid triggers as much as possible. Take your medications, but it's still important to prevent that inflammation that will occur for a very long time and now remodel the airways. And regular hospital visits, to get a person to a safe place, airy place, and if the person is wearing anything tight thing, remove it, and then keep the person, look for the inhaler as soon as possible, as soon as you can get the inhaler and give the person to use. So while you're doing that, you should be on your way to the hospital in case the inhaler doesn't work. If the inhaler, for some people, once they use the inhaler works, they might not need to get to the hospital, yes. But if the inhaler doesn't work, when you now get to the hospital, the doctors will take over and do what they are supposed to do.
Asthma, most times, which I've noticed, is caused by cold. I think one of the treatments for asthma is you need to be deliberate on keeping yourself warm.
I've had a couple of friends that are asthmatic. Okay, so I know they tend to use their inhaler. They don't go to pools. They don't go to places that they cluster.
My advice is that not all symptoms that look like asthma is asthma. So we have the cardiac asthma, you have the bronchial asthma. So I think once you don't just diagnose yourself, get to a doctor and get diagnosed and take medications as prescribed by the medical practitioner.
In Uyo, Blessing Dixon, Spectrum Television News.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Several conversations have already gone on Rise and Shine. Of course, your breakfast show that is national relevance. Of course, this morning we want to look at a serious burning issue that has been drawn to the attention of most Nigerians, surprisingly, metropolitan city. Of course, to have this conversation this morning, joining us virtually will be Comrade Ayodele Adewale, who himself is the State Organizing Secretary, APC, Lagos State Chapter, of course, the government. Good morning. Good to have you on the show, Comrade Ayodele. Okay. A report giving that Lagos State now stands at number 4, having fallen two lines back, because I mean they were number 2 in 2022, and now they've fallen to number 4, having seen some basic improvement around healthcare provision and a little bit of education. But then I'm sure
when we say that they were number 2 before, and they have dropped 2 lines back to number 4, would we say that that should be something that we should just fan ourselves or pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, after all, we were number 2 and now we have become number 4? Okay, Comrade Ayodele Adewale is up now. Good morning, sir. Thank you for just like you said.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Comrade Ayodele Adewale, we were at number 2 as Lagos State, actually, as just because we have fallen 2 lines back.
Well, I don't know where you've gotten that information from.
That was released like 5 days ago, I guess.
Yes, 2 days.
Well, that is not correct. That is not correct. We need to pop nose and really know how.
So I think while we are saying that it is far from reality, there are certain very significant factors that they are using, to come at this particular environment. So maybe you give us a perspective to how Lagos State is looking like when you even look at these factors.
You see, as journalists, even when on information and trying to juxtapose it with many cities of the world, and that is why I still contested the information given to you or how they are. Yes, Lagos is well populated. Yes, Lagos is working very hard to meet global goals. And of course, we resolve all of the many cities that we talk about do have one thing in their control and in their favor. They control human migration. As it is now, within the federal government constitution coming to Lagos, even without having any reason for being in Lagos, without having anywhere to stay in Lagos, they come in droves. I believe you can't do this enough. It's overcrowded and they are overwhelming the infrastructure that they have. And they could not cope, so they had to pull out of that agreement. But Lagos does not address and try to settle you, making sure that you conform with the norms. And it's a lot of irregularities that many people are brought into Lagos, to where they are from. People also will come again and castigate the government, that people have the right to move freely as they want. But you forget the fact that you have a responsibility as a government to do, and that the government must make sure, as a human being, as a realist, I would like to know how they arrive at that conclusion.
Okay, so it's still, pigging back on how, they arrived at this particular conversation, and, just so to put in perspective, we have, reports from urban planners within Lagos that have affirmed that this postulation by the EIU is actually in the affirmative. Now, these are some of the points raised by the town planners in Lagos. Now, the cited challenges of security, lawlessness, dirtiness, insufficient water supply, shortage of recreational facilities, traffic problems, which is what takes the lifespan of an average person living in Lagos. Insufficient public facilities such as educational facilities, health facilities, social cultural amenities, poor infrastructure. Now Lagos is part of those cities in Nigeria that is heavily hit when the floods come. As we speak already, some parts of Lagos is overtaken by the floods, and I mean, epileptic power supply is not even something we want to talk about in Lagos. So when we look at all of these indices, and you know, the EIU is saying they have across 130 countries that were enumerated, Nigeria stands at number 4 as a result of all of these indices that have been underweight. And town planners in Lagos are saying, yes, this is true. Lagos is highly uninhabitable at the moment. So those are some of the indices. Those are the things they use in measuring. Yes.
Let me take it from the point of infrastructure. You have mentioned traffic and all of that. Are you aware that the government of Lagos is building a red line?
Yes, we are aware of that.
Yes. The blue line.
Yes.
And a lot of roads are being built. A lot of roads are being built, and all of this. These are what accounts for law enforcement agency called the lawman in order to resolve all of these things.
How effective is lawman? How effective is lawman? When we speak about that, how effective are they?
It's effective. I said last month.
Last month
with relation to traffic, yes, with relation to traffic control.
Okay, so we've lost your audio.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. We lost your audio at some point. Go ahead.
Yes. If you take last month out of the equation in Lagos, you are going to have a comatose, a heavy chaos. The last month officers are doing their best, but like I told you, the movement of people from everywhere is also a limitation. If you talk about power supply, up till now, Lagos had no power under the Constitution of Nigeria to generate its own electrical energy. Remember that the bill was just signed to law by the last administration, that state government, key players in the industry can come in now and generate, transmit, and distribute.
Okay, so we've lost Mr. Ayodele's audio again, but yeah, it's quite a sorry situation.
Okay, so just let us know once your audio is back up. I think he's trying to fix it. Okay,
so it's such a sorry situation when you look at the indices, you know, that has been ruled out. When you talk about slum areas, we know that they are most like very what do I call them now, prominent places. I'm trying to remember names of these places where it's very synonymous. Ojuelegba, then there's the Magodo now, that are very synonymous with slum areas. But I know that over the years, you know, government of Lagos State have been able to try to revamp these areas and bring them to life. You know, there's been a lot of demolitions going on and all of that, but it's quite a pity when you reel out these indices, especially when we talk about traffic in Lagos State. We talk about flooding. The environment is one instrument or one factor, you know, that this particular global livability report has also pointed out as well. And I think there were several others that you mentioned. So for me, I think instead of trying to debunk these things and say that, oh, Lagos is
it's
good,
not as bad as we
it's
hear.
not as bad as we hear. These are things that, you know, government should actually, these are reports that government should actually use as a way forward, going forward, to try to see how they can solve and sort some of these issues.
Bringing up policies and projects that will make sure that, as of now, like Adewale was trying to say, the Lagos State has put in some efforts. Let's even say that the efforts that they put in so far is what brought them from number 2 to number 4. Because we've seen successive governments try to do different things. You know, he was mentioning LASMA, for instance. LASMA has really tried to, you know, stabilize traffic flow and activity in the state. So maybe these are some of the things that have brought them. Introduction of train lines in the state will also make it possible. But we are looking even beyond infrastructure. We are looking at several other things. And what was his name now? The president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Mr. Nathaniel Adebute, he described Lagos as the city of the survival of the fittest. It's like anyone who can grapple for energy is the one that is going to be able to survive. Okay, Adewale, are you back? Can we hear you? Let's know if your audio is back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, good to have you back.
I'm back. The network has been very, very good. Yeah.
Infrastructural issues in the country.
Yeah, so like that. Yes. The power generation issue in the country, distribution and all of that used to be in the exclusive list in the Nigerian Constitution until the last administration now had to unbundle it and allow for state government to start to produce energy, distribute and all whatnot. But if you remember in the year 2000, under the Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu government in Lagos, they tried to embark on an IPP project. And the constitution requirement as at that time did not allow for it. Neither the sitting president as at that time, President Olusegun Obasanjo, did not cooperate with the Lagos state government. That has been done. By now, issue of power in Lagos and in the country would have been a thing of the past. Lagos would have been selling power, sustaining power, and all of that. So if you go around Nigeria right now, you see a lot of companies, a lot of government now embracing the IPP structure. And the federal government also have allowed for that. So it is work ongoing. That will be resolved very, very soon in Lagos. Beyond that fact, Lagos have put in place a very secure security architecture here, known as the RRS structure. There is even an emergency number that you can call whenever you are in distress, and within some need of time, they are there to take control of the situation. And this has been sustainable. They even created a stream of finance for that, right? And this has been sustainable. So Lagos is not indifferent when you talk about global issues that are concerning security. If you go to if you go to New York, you find a lot of these issues there. When you even compare the ratio to what is happening in Lagos, you see that Lagos is far, far, far ahead of them and all of that. And I ask you a question. When was the last time you heard about any bank robbery in Lagos? These are things of the past. Or when last did you hear about any grave heinous crime in Lagos that is perpetrated in a high scale? This is not evidential in Lagos. Or when did you see any of these terrorists, even when the country was being attacked, in a very high scale? None of it happened in Lagos. So this goes to show that the security architecture in Lagos is very. Yes, on environmental matters, Lagos is working assiduously hard for making sure that everything is well improved. And that is why Lagos has a system where you have private operators coming into the waste management system in order to dislodge all of this waste. And even Lagos is even very watchful. You saw in a video recently when a woman carried out a dustbin and was throwing it into the drainage. It went very viral. And you have a lot of people doing this. And Lagos continue to engage, Lagos government continue to engage its populace, telling them that, look, desist from this. The more you block the drainage line, the more you create the tendency of flooding. Aside from that, the meteorology department have warned that we are going to have a very high rainfall this time around. We're going to have not only in Lagos, all over. And the Lagos government have moved forward to making sure that these things are addressed and people are told to leave some areas, stop putting fuels in drainage points, don't disturb the wetland, don't build on wetland, don't build a right of way of flood waters and all of the things.
So I'm happy you've been able to let us know that it's not all rosy in Lagos, just like this particular statistics has been put out. But for you, your stance as Lagos is not bad. So for me, I'm thinking, instead of us debunking the fact that this statistics is wrong, why don't we use what has been put forward before us? Let's also understand that this is not the first time the global livability report is going to come out for Lagos State. Let us use what has been put forward to see how governments can begin to create policies and build infrastructures and developmental strides to better off the life of citizens in Lagos State.
Well, as a journalist, once again, I would want to encourage you not to take sides.
I'm not
You're
taking
presenting a
sides
matter which
because
some
I'm
people
not
have
taking
thought.
sides.
Hold
While
on,
you're trying
hold
to
on, hold on.
analyze, you have also
Hold
said
on.
that you have some challenges, which is environmental challenges. You've agreed to that fact. So it does not put what the statistics have been brought. It does not totally make it wrong. So this is not me taking sides at all. I'm only saying that we can use what has been put forward to better off the lives of citizens in Lagos State.
Madam, I do agree with you that there are challenges, but not to the extent of the words, chosen words you are using to connote your presentation. That is what I'm contesting.
Okay.
I'm not saying that there are no challenges, but the words that you have chosen to connote these challenges that is before any city, popular city in the world, and all of that is what I'm trying to advise against.
Okay.
That you are more or less coming into the ring. Some people have given you an information, and I'm telling you that from the point of reality, those information are not particularly true. Because when you talk about what city for,
I think we've lost his audio again. But I like the fact that he's been able to point out that, look, when we talk about environmental challenges, we really do have environmental challenges in Lagos State. And this is a call to action for the government of Lagos State. I like also the fact that, you know, they are also trying to bring up citizens to understand, educate them to understand that, look, you have a part to play in making Lagos State a better place and more livable place for everybody. And government also has their own part to play as well when we talk about environment, when we even talk about, you know, refuse disposition and all of that. But I think we have Ayodele Adewale back. You can just continue your trend of thought.
yeah, I've been trying to get your attention. I can hear what you're saying.
Yes.
So the network wants to jump in. So like I said, there are challenges, and there are all challenges all over the world, right? The more human improve on their system, the more challenges will come. The more government will try to overcome those challenges, and I mean that's why the government is there. And the Lagos State government have been a very listening government, a very caring government. It is not a brute government. It's a government that tries to help the people to walk the system and all of that. You know, we believe that we must walk this journey together. I mean, you are transmitting from Uyo, right? Uyo is a city. I was in Uyo for over 1 year, you know, as an NYC youth corps member. But I know that the population of the people living in Uyo is just like putting a pin in a haystack when you compare it to the population in Lagos. If you flip the side, right, and bring the numbers of people down to Uyo, I can assure you of what that city would have become. So when you talk about Lagos, Lagos is one of the most popular cities in the world, and Lagos is happy about that. Lagos is happy that people are coming in with nothing, and they are going out of Lagos as billionaires. That is what Lagos is to everyone. Very accommodating.
I think I'll come back to
into Lagos. They must understand.
I think I'll come back to what Uyai had raised initially. What Uyai had raised initially. Now, you were talking about a particular person that said Lagos is more like survival of the fittest. So it's more like people are in Lagos struggling for livelihood.
So I think something else we should just pay a little bit of attention
I
to.
I don't think that I don't think that connotation defeats what you're trying to imply. Lagos
but Ayodele, that is like the literal picture of a Lagosian.
To make everybody stand very well.
But that is literally the picture of a Lagosian.
The
A
what?
Lagosian is always on the run. If you're not trying to meet up with traffic, you're trying to live up to the high expense of accommodation and other things. But let's even backtrack a little bit and talk about town planning, which has been, brought up the table as part of the reasons why they're saying Lagos State is not so livable. Agreed. Successive governments are now working together with professionals in that sector to try and plan out certain areas of Lagos State to promote livability. So let's talk a little bit about town planning. What's your idea about the collaboration between state governments and professional town planners rather, to at least say, okay, let us make, and then let's not pick out the likes of Banana Island, pick out Lekki, the highbrow areas of Lagos, to think that all is well with Lagos.
It's not, because we have so many flooding issues bedeviling these areas.
So, to just put it together, the place of town planning and livability.
Those areas that you have mentioned are part of the strengths and blessings of Lagos, like other global cities will always have, and all of that. So we are proud about those areas. But the government of Lagos State have a very huge, robust master plan for development. That is why you see that even before the federal government signed into law that state government can provide rail system, Lagos government have moved in, and the rail network, the red line, is almost completed. And in many parts of Lagos, there's urban renewal going on. If you go to the Yaba areas now, you see that the old buildings are making way for new buildings. These are not just government building. Government is collaborating with the private sector to build, to put up this building, and well regulated. And that is why the Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning is going all out, beyond the fact that the population is so huge, the buildings coming up are so much, and they're going all out to make sure that people conform with regulations. And when they see that they are not in sync with the regulation, they bring up the penalties to making sure that they bring everybody online. The space is looking, the space looks small, but again is very huge. When you put the human numbers carrying out sundry activities,
Government is trying to stretch into, will it cater for the numerical influx? Because even as we speak, there's still a lot of migration into Lagos. When we expand into the land that you say Lagos has, will it at least the barest minimum cater for the numbers?
yes, they're doing that, especially on transportation. I mean, this rail system, you will agree with me that the biggest means of far areas of Lagos in order to bring people from one point to the other, reducing the numbers of vehicles on the road. Lagos have also ventured into water transportation. If you look from the coast of Ikorodu all the way down to Victoria Island and and some other areas, people use more of water transport forward. Lagos have also developed the transport, the bus lane, telling people not to even move into these bus lanes, allowing for free flow of traffic and all of that. These new roads are coming to decongest the existing roads and allow for free flow of traffic. The Fourth Mainland Bridge is coming up, right? That is also contending taking care of federal infrastructure. All of the federal bridges in Lagos are being majorly maintained by the Lagos state government, and all of these things. These are competing things that challenge the resources in Lagos. People obey traffic laws, people obey security laws, and people obey environmental laws. The more they obey these laws, the more it makes life very easy for people, not only in Lagos.
Obey rules and regulations.
Absolutely.
And being Lagos State being a work in progress, that's fantastic. We have also seen the numerous work that this present administration is putting to make Lagos State a better place and more habitable for the people. And we're here to criticize and also set agenda for better governance and developmental strides as well. We are the mouthpiece of the people,
Definitely.
so we would always say it the way the people are saying it as well. So
Paying attention to certain things, and there's some of the things you've enunciated this morning is also showing us the attempts by the Lagos State government to fix this thing. So we know that whether or not the statistics are right, by the time they come for next year's evaluation, Lagos would have fallen further down again in the analysis, and this gives us more hope, and we are thankful for that. We want to say a really big thank you to Adewale this morning, all the way from Lagos, explaining how livable the current administration and the past ones have been trying to make Lagos over the years. But that's the argument this morning, and we can let it to rest with the fact that
it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
Definitely. Anyways, we hope that you enjoyed every bit of what we brought your way this morning. It's a Thursday morning, don't forget, and tomorrow everybody should get back to work actually, because it ends the public holiday. And this is us saying bye-bye and thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.